The material gun is a tool that lets you edit and or replace the surface properties of almost anything. In this demonstration, I'll not only be going over how this tool is used, but also how to create your own materials. Anyhow, one way to go about modifying surfaces is to find a material orb, place it into this open slot here, point your laser at something and pull the trigger button. It's that easy. You can also extract textures from your environment. Making sure that your material gun is empty, point your laser at any surface and press the secondary action button on your controller. This material can then be applied to whatever you want. The material gun has its own controller menu with some very handy options within. By default, it operates in ray mode, which is essentially this laser here. This is good for most situations, but not all. There may be times where an object may consist of many parts, and it would be quite tedious to attempt to get everything surfaced this way. Area mode fixes that. Everything inside of this globe gets painted when the trigger button is pressed. The area of influence can be resized just like with any other brush, by using the grab button to rotate this dial here. Generally, if ray mode does not do what you need it to, switching to area mode is often a good way to go. The material gun is also, not surprisingly, your main tool for editing the properties of materials. In the controller menu, if you select Edit Material, it will bring up all of the properties of whatever material orb is placed into the slot. Most often you'll be doing this to tweak colors or add a texture map. There's something about extracting materials that needs mentioning here. Normally, when you extract a material, you are extracting a reference of it. This means that if I make any changes to this material, these changes are going to show up on whatever surfaces that this particular material is assigned to. If you set the material gun to extract a copy instead of a reference, this essentially creates a brand new copy of this material which is not assigned to anything in the world. This is important when you want to change a material's properties, but leave whatever is in the world intact while you do so. At some point, you're going to need to be able to create a brand new material that is not just a reference or a copy of something that exists in your current environment. This is currently done with the developer's tooltip. If I open up the menu for this tool and select Create, within this panel, we can find a material option. This list represents the available shaders that we can assign to any given material. This newly created material's properties are automatically displayed upon creation. There's one more thing that I need to explain. When creating brand new materials, you often need texture images. Let me show you how to import and assign them. I'll first use a file browser tooltip to import some images. There's nothing fancy about this tooltip. Equipping it and pressing the trigger button just opens a file browser window. It is worth mentioning that these panels can actually be saved into your inventory, which can save you a lot of time if you always tend to use the same folders for your NeosVR content. Anyways, this panel works just like any other file browser. Just double press the trigger button and it'll bring up the importer prompt. I should also add that another way to get media into Neos is to copy the file in your standard file explorer, switch back to Neos, and then hit Ctrl-V. It does the exact same thing. With these image files loaded into Neos, they can be assigned to any material by grabbing the image tile, moving your laser over the white box, and releasing the grab button. With that done, we no longer need these image panels, so they can be deleted.